Michael Chandler, who is here, our final guest of the day. We have saved the best for last. Michael, how are you?
Good, man. Main event spot. Thanks, bro.
How about that? How about that? Great to talk to you, Michael, and hope everything is going well. Haven't talked to you since before the Houston fight, before the fight against Charles Oliveira. And, you seem to be in great spirits. You got this big fight. All attention is on it. And I really respected the way in which you handled that. Sometimes someone loses a big fight, a title fight, and you don't hear from them for 3-4 months. And that's fine. I don't think anyone begrudges them. And then other times you get someone like yourself who shows up the following week and, just kind of lets their emotions out, wears their heart on their sleeve and just talks about, why did you feel the need to do that and not kind of go away?
Man, well, number one, thank you. I appreciate that. But I mean, it was my route. It's what makes me feel the most comfortable. But that's only because I've made the mistake in the past. I was, just to give you, lay the groundwork for the people who hadn't followed me. I shot out of a cannon in 2009, and within 18 months beat Eddie Alvarez for the Bellator lightweight title, became the number 3, number 5 guy in the world. So I got shot out like a rocket, and then won a couple more fights. I lost that first fight to Eddie. And after that first fight, I wanted to hide from the media. I got, it was a fight of the year candidate. I got asked to present an award at the World MMA Awards or go there and, possibly receive the award. And I wanted to hide from everybody. I wanted to hide from the media. I wanted to hide from you. I wanted to hide from training partners and everybody because I was embarrassed of the loss. And it was through learning from that, this maturation process, realizing that every single person that I look up to or do look up to now, they have at one point or another lost or been a loser or fallen short, and it was through that maturation process that I realized the best way for me personally to move forward is to get right back on the horse. I did a podcast on Monday on Monday, I broke down my fight frame by frame with MMA On Point on YouTube. And then on Tuesday, I did Bussin' with the Boys, and I reached out to Will Compton, who was the host of Bussin' with the Boys, because he didn't reach out to me, because that's what happens after these losses. A lot of people are afraid of what you're going through inside your own head, so they don't reach out to you. Mm-hmm. And I texted Will, I said, hey man, I'll see you on Tuesday. He's like, you sure you want to come back on? And I said, of course, man, this life and this journey and this fight game isn't predicated on wins and losses. It's about the journey, and the journey is part of the process. So, for me, the best way to get over it is to rip that Band-Aid off, put my face back out there, get my voice out there, and show people that failure is an event, not a person. Wow. Failure for me was May 15th, but Michael Chandler is not a failure as a whole. So I fell short, got knocked out by Charles Oliveira, did some soul searching, spent a lot of time with my family over the last couple of months. And man, I'm happy to be back under the roof at Sanford MMA, training with my guys, training with my coaches, and can't wait for November 6th.
Can I ask you what that soul searching was like? I mean, on the surface here, publicly, you seem to have it all together. You say all the right things, so well put. Everything is just very concise and well thought out, but deep, when the doors are closed and it's just you and your wife, and what are those moments like, especially right after the fight? Did you, how did you break it all down? How did you feel? How did you react? How did you digest the loss?
Man, pain, crying, falling short, embarrassment, less than, that small voice inside my head that has always told me that I'm a small guy from a small town who was taught to do small things. Because that's what I was raised up into. That's the people that I was around. I came from a community where not a lot of people believed that they could go outside those county lines and go accomplish crazy, audacious, big things. And that little guy from that little town is still in here. I've just gotten really good at duct taping him to the basement of my mind and put a roll of duct tape around his mouth. But man, he creeps back up. He creeps back up often. And he definitely crept back up right after May 15th. On May 15th, I stayed up till 4 a.m. that night. My wife is sleeping next to me, and I was laying in my hotel room. I was up till 4 or 5 a.m. Didn't even barely sleep. I was just tossing and turning, and it was hard. But this is why we do what we do. This is why the fans love this sport, because they see what we go through inside of an octagon, inside of a cage, inside of a circle, and inside of these competitions. And it's the physical manifestation of all the different fights that people are going through. And that's why people love this sport. And that's why it's incumbent upon us as athletes, as fighters, to show that you will fall short. You will fail. You will get kicked right in the teeth. You will get beaten down. But the way you pull yourself back up is what champions are made of. There's a reason why the Rocky franchise is one of the most successful movie franchises of all time. It wasn't because Rocky always won. It's because Rocky always came back with complete disregard to previous setbacks and future opposition. And that's what I've done. And man, it was sad. You know, I just wanted to sit around and eat ice cream and not work out, but I didn't, you know. I didn't want to slack off as a husband, didn't want to slack off as a father, didn't want to slack off as a man. I wanted to continue this journey, realizing that, yes, even though I failed, I am not a failure. And that's the hardest part when you're surrounded by your four walls at your house. That's when that doubt creeps in. And that's what I did back in the day, 2012, 13, whenever I lost those fights. I just wanted to be in my house, in my small little circle, in my small little bubble. But this time I wanted to get out right away. And that's why I wanted to be in the media. I wanted to be on the cameras. I wanted to have my voice be heard, because that was selfishly for me, my way of getting over it, you know? So it was ups and downs for months at a time, but man, I made peace with it, and it was an awesome opportunity that I got. And now I have an even bigger opportunity to come back from that loss. And the setback is just a springboard for the comeback.
How many times have you watched the fight?
Man, I've only watched the full fight probably twice. I mean, I've seen little highlights. I mean, more than anything, just me getting caught, me coming in with that hard body shot, pulling out of the pocket, unprotected with my hand down, watching that boom, left hook just hit me. And it's those things that you need to go back and watch and see, but also not harp on, because I also don't want to put that back in my mind and harp on it too much. And now, you know, we've made the requisite, we've taken the requisite steps to change those things, get a little bit better. If you're going to fight Justin Gaethje, you better have good defense. So we're working on defense. We're working on everything. And it's made me better as a fighter. And I believe we're going to see that on November 6th.
I'm no Michael Chandler. One thing that I'd love to change about myself is I find that I harp on things that happened in the past that I have no control over anymore. They happen, but I harp. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should. And I harp on it. I lament. I harp. And there's nothing. It does nothing. There's nothing productive. And so I wonder, you shake your head. So I guess you're not the same type of guy. I feel like you're not the same type of guy. Like that first round, do you harp on it a lot? I was that close. I was literally seconds away from winning that title. Or is it just not even a thought? You're over it. You don't even think about that.
No, I shake my head because I do the same exact thing.
Okay.
You know, anybody who's trying to accomplish anything great has a tendency to harp on the things that they've done wrong, harp on the failures that they've had, and harp on the view, whether it's realistic or unrealistic, of other people, of them, and our failures, you know? Yeah, I mean, I think one of the greatest things about that fight on May 15th was, I was this close, a gnat's eyelash, maybe one punch away. Maybe if it was a different referee, maybe that referee would have stepped in. I was so close to winning the UFC title. So that's one of the things that has, you know, solidified me as one of the top guys and earned my right in this UFC lightweight division. But yeah, the saddest thing is that, man, I was that close, you know? So it's just the nature of the sport. You can't enjoy the spoils and the fruits of your labor and the platform and the notoriety that we get and the money that we make and the bright lights that we get to fight under and compete under without also taking in stride the bad things that are going to come from this sport, the pain, the tears, the embarrassment, the physical and the emotional pain. You know, you have to realize that this sport is going to do so many things to you. Sometimes you think it's completely fair. Sometimes you think it's unfair, but either way, you have to move forward. And just going back to you, I shake my head because I think that's just one of the biggest problems with society or just the human nature. We are conditioned to, instead of look forward to us becoming a better version of ourselves, we are held back by those limiting beliefs of the failures of our past. So I think it's a trait that a lot of successful people all have in common, but it's also the most successful people that you've ever been around. Those people that you just wonder, how in the heck is that guy or that gal so confident? And they had these failures and they had these setbacks, or they suffered bankruptcy, or they lost their business, or they lost this relationship, yet they were able to come back because they were able to overcome the negative self-talk and the negative self-reminders every single day of those times that they failed. And I guarantee every single person that is listening to this right now has suffered from that. But it's only by the constant and never ending belief of continuing to move forward, accepting them, and showing yourself grace. I think we show so many people around us grace that we forgive them for the things that they have done, or we forgive them for the way that they are, yet we don't do the exact same thing for ourselves. And I have fallen victim to it. Admittingly, I did a lot after this last fight. I wasn't showing myself grace, and I just wanted to say, maybe they were right. Maybe you were a flash in the pan. Maybe you're too old. Maybe you're too slow. Maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you are just the Bellator guy. Maybe you are just the second stringer. So all of those thoughts I had, and all those thoughts are gone now. And November 6th, we continue to move forward towards getting back to the UFC title.
Who helps you get over those thoughts? Do you have someone that you go to? Is it just yourself? How does that happen? Man,
so the good thing is I do have the luxury of having a past that I was able to learn from. So right. a lot of it really is just going back to the journals that I wrote back in 2013, going back to the interviews that I was doing back then, or the new interviews that I've done since I signed with the UFC, which has been less than 1 year at this point. And hearing the things that I was saying and reminding myself that I was put on this earth for great things. But I got such an amazing wife. We have spent a ton of time together. We got over it by not ignoring it, but by trying to push it to the side and just try to be a normal person as well. Not only did I lose this title fight, but I also needed a break because I was in training camp essentially since March of 2020 when the pandemic hit, and I wasn't sure when the Benson Henderson fight was going to happen. I just had to stay in camp and stay ready because the call could have came, hey, you're fighting in 3 weeks because of the pandemic.
Right.
That never happened. I ended up fighting in August, and then signed with the UFC in September, and then October, and then January and May, and then all of this stuff has happened. So I had beat my body down so much over 16 months that I needed a break anyway. So I think pulling myself away from the sport, still being in it and watching it and being a fan of it, but pulling myself away from the MMA gym scene that I had been in nonstop 365 days for a year and then another extra 6 months. I needed to pull myself away. And I have a great small group of people that have been around me since literally day one. So seek wise counsel, pray like it depends on God, and work like it depends on you. And that's really what I've been doing since day one, since I was 13 years old, 14 years old, started wrestling.
By the way, the career is not coming to an end anytime soon, but whenever it does come to an end, you're going to go into motivational speaking, right? Like, I just feel like this is inevitable, correct?
I don't know, man. I mean, I would love that. That's definitely, I don't want to, be a self-proclaimed speaker. I am who I am. And it's funny too. I was watching your show earlier, obviously getting prepared for this, seeing all the comments and stuff. And then watched a couple other things of Justin Gaethje, the thing between me and Justin Gaethje, because I wanted to see what he was saying. If you want to be interesting, you have to be interested, and I'm interested in the sport. So, it's just funny when people say, man, he just seems like he talks too much, or he talks like this, or he talks like that, or he's just a little too polished. I like my guys a little rough around the edges, or he seems fake. But the funny thing is, I am just exactly who I am. This is me being my authentic self. And you would probably know this because the first time you interviewed me was probably 2011, and I probably sounded very similar. This is just who I am. But I do have some opportunities to speak. I might be speaking at a big conference in February. I'm definitely speaking at a conference in December. Man, if people, reach out to me and want to hear my story, and if people can get a little bit of motivation from the guy who has literally been fighting hand-to-hand combat since he was 14 years old, been beat down a couple times, pulled myself back up, I think that's a story that resonates with a lot of people. And I would love to inspire and motivate people all around the globe. And the UFC has given me an opportunity to do that.
So the debut was great. One of the all-time best debuts, even your entrance, like you were, to steal a pro wrestling line, the baby face. I mean, the baby face of all, you got Ric Flair putting you over all this stuff. You get the title shot. Everyone's mad. He's getting the title shot, but everyone kind of is happy for you as well. Title shot. And then it was a bit of a heel turn. And I'm not the political guy. I don't care what you do, what you believe. I don't care, as long as it's not offensive to anyone and you're not that guy. But then it got a little weird with the vaccine and this, and people were giving you a lot of heat on Twitter for this. How did you react to all of that? I mean, you're just saying your opinion, your feeling, you're allowed to do what you want. Everyone has their own stance on it. That's cool. But I saw you getting some major heat for this. How did you react to that?
Yeah, well, one thing that, obviously you have followed the sport for a very long time. When you go to the UFC, the platform and the eyeballs that are on you is much, much, much bigger. my growth of my platform has grown exponentially. So it gave me the opportunity, and it also gave me the permission to realize that, man, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. A lot of people are not going to like me, and I'm a people pleaser by nature. I have to try to fight that every single day to try to become the man that I am called to be. Because if you try to please everybody, at the end, you're going to please nobody. But yeah, no, the funny thing about the vaccination thing was I didn't come out. I didn't do one story, tell people about the vaccine. I didn't get on your show and start talking about the vaccine. I was in a private Instagram live session with a couple thousand people or whatever it was. 5 minutes after I hit end live, it was MMA Junkie, or it was one of the MMA media outlets came out that said Chandler, isn't getting vaxxed, and then I got labeled an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't personally have the vaccine right now. I don't know if I ever will get the vaccine. Personally, I just believe that we live in the greatest country on the planet. I believe that this is the greatest country on the planet because of our individual liberties and our individual choices, especially when it comes to our bodies and our medical history and our health. So that's where I stand on it. And it wasn't a heel turn whatsoever. It was just the people who labeled me an anti-vaxxer obviously thought I was a heel, when really I was just answering a question because everybody said, hey, is it going to be Madison Square Garden? That was right after the mandates came out about Madison Square Garden and everybody needed to be vaccinated and whatnot. So I kind of gave that information out there and said, I won't be vaccinated by November 6th. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And by the way, just for the record, I'm not calling people who don't take the vaccine heels. I just want to make that very clear. It just meant it was so much positive press, so much love. And then all of a sudden, people turn on you, and that's just the way the internet is. My understanding is, to attend the event, you have to be fully vaccinated per New York state laws, but the athletes are exempt from that. So you cannot. Same with the NBA players that are playing there, the NHL players, the Knicks, the Rangers. Is that your understanding as well?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. So it won't be an issue. Basically, for anyone who's worried that this fight won't happen, they keep saying, you better. I'm sure the UFC has told you this won't be an issue, correct?
Yes, that is what I've heard. So all systems go for Madison Square Garden, November 6th. Obviously it's become a world right now where a lot of things are up in the air. You never quite know. You never know if you're fighting at Madison Square Garden until you're there. Mm-hmm. The event starts and they call your name and you're walking to the octagon, So that's the state of the world that we live in. So as of right now, all systems go, and I couldn't be happier to fight at Madison Square Garden, man, under the UFC banner. It's going to be a huge, huge show and a phenomenal card that they put together.
I want to ask you about MSG in particular in a second, but what about, you said you did your research, so you probably know. What about Gaethje saying you were just looking for some attention by these comments?
Yeah, no, and and this is where if I had hopped on and done a media tour about how I'm not taking the vaccine, or I was telling everybody the vaccine was garbage or something, of course that would be me seeking attention. I was in a private Instagram live on my own IG live with my followers and a couple thousand people that were asking questions about it. And then the article broke and came out, so that was the funny thing too, where everybody, which that's completely fine. It's a hot button issue. It's a hot topic right now. People are 100% against it. People are 100% for it. And then there's a lot of people in between that don't know what to think. So it's just a huge issue on a world stage. So if I had done that, yes, I would be 100% okay with Justin Gaethje saying I was seeking attention. But the fact that it was on an Instagram live and a media outlet picked up my words and put them out there, that shows you right there that it was a private, no different than me and you having a private conversation at a restaurant and someone overhearing it, and then acting like, hey, since I have this huge platform, I shouldn't be talking about it. Well, wait a second. I was talking about it basically in a private forum. So,
okay. I believe I know you haven't fought at MSG since the Brent Primus fight. Have you ever been in MSG since the Brent Primus fight?
Not since. No, I haven't. I think I was at the where the Brooklyn Barclays
Center,
Barclays.
Yeah.
I was there. No, I haven't been at MSG since then.
What is that like? That was a huge deal, a huge card for Bellator, a huge fight for you. It ends in heartbreak. I remember you actually came in studio the Monday after. You hobbled in here. I remember that vividly, right here, right in front of me. What, like, in your mind, is this righting that wrong, exercising that how do you feel about going back there after you experienced that heartbreak there a few years ago?
Yeah, see, that's the thing about the heartbreak and the way in which that fight ended. I mean, I should have and would have won that fight, I believe, and but it goes back to, you can't enjoy the spoils and the fruits of the victories and the great things that the sport brings about without also accepting those horrible things that happen, like that fight. So I've made peace with that. More than anything, I'm excited that this time I fight at Madison Square Garden. It's under the UFC banner, which the UFC show is going to be much bigger. The card that they put together is going to have millions and millions of eyeballs on it. So much bigger than the last time that I fought there. So, the feelings are the same. The thoughts are the same. Warming up in the same locker rooms that Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield and Muhammad Ali and all these guys, the icons of combat sports, have warmed up in the halls that they walked, the walkouts where they walked out. It's the world's most iconic arena for a reason, and it's because of the people that have fought there. So I always say, too, when you get into the sport, you want the biggest fights possible against the biggest names at the biggest venues. And Madison Square Garden is the epitome of the biggest venue that you can fight in mixed martial arts. So in order to have the opportunity to fight there again is going to be awesome. The opponent is right. The night is right. The date is right. So it's going to be, it's going to be fireworks. It's going to be fun, and I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, what a tremendous fight. By the way, speaking of Holyfield, you were at that Triller card on Saturday. How crazy was that? What a scene that was, right? You got the former president there. You got Holyfield, 58 years old. Vitor going crazy. Anderson. What was it like actually being there?
It was cool. I mean, it's combat sports. Actually, when I was down on the floor, before I went upstairs, when I was down on the floor, it was a lot of the really, I don't want to say legitimate fights. I'm not here to pee in anyone's coffee, but obviously before the main event and the co-main event, I had went upstairs, or for the main event and co-main event, I was upstairs, but when I was down on the floor, there was some really good, some good boxing happening, some legit fighters and some fun, entertaining fights. Yeah, I mean, to see Holyfield get hit that hard and fall, Tito getting knocked out cold, which we haven't really seen much, I don't think. I talked to him after, and he was like, I've never felt anything like that before. But they put on a good event. There was some music, as Triller always does. I'm happy it was a little bit more less R-rated than the first Triller fight with Jake and Ben, because when I watched that on TV, I was like, goodness gracious, man, we don't need this. But they're allowed to do and make their own shows, and they see their lane, and they're going in it, and you can't fault them for doing that. But it was good to be there live. It was fun. It was an enjoyable night, and I'm glad I went. Any
good convo with the former president, or was it just quick photo op?
It was not good combo. I mean, obviously he's extremely busy. No, he shook my hand. He goes, I know who you are. You're one tough guy. Get in here. So he took a picture together or whatnot. That was pretty much the extent of it. He's not the kind of guy who has a lot of discretionary time to be hanging out and taking pictures.
Just shooting the breeze. By the way, is this a left ear? Is this more cauliflower than usual? That one.
100%. Yeah. The left one, I will always have cauliflower ear the rest of my life. I'm not going to get them surgically removed, but I am going to get this back one here on my left surgically removed a little bit so my ear doesn't stick out so much. Damn. More than anything, I wish I could do it now, because all this thing does is get caught on people's hips and get caught in shirts, and it gets almost ripped off almost every single time I grapple. And it sticks out. So, it's not swollen. It's not any more swollen, but I've just progressively gotten more and more cauliflower ear inside.
Does it hurt when you do that?
No, man. These things are rock hard, man.
Yeah, that is wild.
The best is when people, the best joke for all, if any fighters are listening right now, if you're a young fighter, you want to win over some people, make them laugh. Be like, man, look at that cauliflower. That's from wrestling, right? Or that's from BJJ, right? Yeah. Be like, man, can you hear out of it? You say, what? Say, can you hear out of it? What? That's the best joke. Best
what about cleaning it?
What?
What about cleaning it?
Yeah, cleaning it is rough. I mean, even today I was grappling in the sweat. God designed our ears for optimal hearing and optimal different things. And we went ahead and beat our head up against each other's, heads for the last decade, and we kind of jacked them up. So sweat gets in there. I actually got a really cool solution that's got like some alcohol in it. And instead of Q-tipping it, that's one of the biggest things. I used to get a lot of ear infections in here because I was Q-tipping it. But now I just kind of do a couple drops in there. You can hear it fizzing and kind of soaking up
wow.
Getting rid of all the sweat or my sweat or other teammates' sweat. And not too many problems these days, luckily.
Two last quick things. Poirier Oliveira, who wins?
I think Dustin Poirier. I think they're both complete fighters. I think Oliveira has shown over his last couple of fights, especially the fight against me. His hands have come along. He is basic and he hits hard. He hits harder than we think. His grappling has obviously always been on point, but I just think Dustin Poirier is a little bit better in every area. I think Dustin Poirier's cardio, I think Dustin Poirier's ability to get him hurt and finish the fight, like I wasn't able to do, is second to none. I think Dustin Poirier wins that fight by third or fourth round stoppage.
Okay, and that's good for you, right? You fight Gaethje, you win, fresh guy, right?
Man, it's all good for me. The crazy thing is, you talk about my title shot, and a lot of people said I didn't deserve it. I didn't say I necessarily did or did not deserve it. I just came in and said yes to every opportunity, and I was rewarded. And I was also the beneficiary of some crazy circumstances with Khabib retiring, Poirier and Conor being tied up in the trilogy, and Justin Gaethje, I think, was kind of in the middle of a contract negotiation. He just came out saying he got a new contract. So there was some stuff going on there where I've said Justin Gaethje's name no less than a dozen times in the media. And my managers have said his name 1,000 times. So that was a fight that we wanted. That's a fight that fans want to see. So it's, it's been fun. It's been crazy. And I think no matter what, the lightweight division is still the most exciting division in the UFC. So Gaethje now, Poirier, Oliveira later. Obviously you got guys surging coming down toward the top three. Conor's coming back eventually. So, there's some exciting fights, and I'm glad to be a lightweight.
And you always say, not here for a long time. You're here for a good time. You think Gaethje is a long time type of fight? You envisioning 15 minutes, or do you think it's the kind of car crash, violent fight that you guys are talking about that ends relatively quickly because you both hit so hard?
I think you always prepare for a long, drawn-out war. I think you always prepare for a guy that you just can't finish, a guy that just continues to come forward with everything you hit him with. And Justin Gaethje is that. If you're kidding yourself if you don't think Justin Gaethje is not just violent and not just skilled, but man, the dude has cardio and heart in droves. So I'm preparing for 15 hard minutes, the hardest fight of my life. But I think, best case scenario, I land one pretty darn hard on his temple or his chin and put him out. But that's what every fighter wants. You want the knockout. You want the quick, easy paycheck, of course. But you got to be ready for that 15-minute war. If I had to guess, I think if there's a finish, it's happening later on, second or third round, because I think both of us are just not going to get hit with anything too crazy clean in order to get finished. But that's what I'm preparing for. We'll see.
Man, what a freaking fight. Great job by the UFC putting that together. Great job by you, Mike. And also, great job on the broadcast. I see you at the desk doing your thing. I feel like that's going to be another, lane for you as well. So a lot of opportunities coming up. But for now.
By the way, that was something, too, that I had to reach out because obviously you lose the title fight and media wasn't going to reach out to me. So I would actually reach out to people and say, hey, and this was all selfish too. Like, I know I need to get back on the horse. And I actually reached out to the UFC, Zach Candido, and said, hey, just so you know, of course I took an L and I'm licking my wounds, but man, I still have my work boots on if you want to, if you need me and you want me to do any of these shows. So that's what people don't understand too. That's the beauty of this Dana White privilege thing, is that people say, man, well, everything was handed to him, when really I'm asking for it and I'm working for it. And I show up with my work boots on and I put my best foot forward, and he who doesn't ask will never get. So I just ask and I work, and that was part of it. And obviously I'm going to put that on the back burner until at least November 6th. And then I'd love to be on the broadcast here in the near future by the end of the year.
I love the mentality. I won't bring up the fact that, you reach out to all these people. You didn't reach out to me to speak, so I'm a little bit offended by that.
Maybe I didn't reach out to that. I didn't reach out to that many people. I actually really didn't reach out. but I think the good thing was like, obviously MMA On Point is the YouTube channel that's really in Nashville.
Yeah. And
we had done some videos together and I was already scheduled with Busting with the Boys, but even just ripping off that Band-Aid, people would see, okay, well, shoot, he's taking interviews. So
for sure,
really, it was you who should have reached out after you saw that.
It's on me. It's my fault. All right. Well, I'll reach out to you for November 8th. I'm booking you right now, November 8th. Win, lose, or draw the Monday after that fight. I can't wait for it. Great stuff, Mike. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Thanks, Ariel.
All right. There he is, the one and only Iron Mike Chandler, returning November 6th, Madison Square Garden.